Alrighty, welcome in, guys. Welcome into the Brand Partial Show. So, yeah, kind of want to touch on a few things today. First of all, Antoine Winfield Jr., the highest defensive back in NFL history. And I think the initial reaction to this would be, Antoine Winfield is not that good. How's he worth that much money? He's not that dominant of a safety. You think if you got to watch, Antoine Winfield's one of those guys where I think I'd say he's one of those guys where I think a lot of casual NFL fans know him. But I think he's one of those guys where I think if you're a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, or if you're a teammate of him on Tampa Bay, you understand the impact this guy makes. This guy just makes people better. Some guys, even if they're not like an elite player, sometimes a good player, a very good player, just kind of has that swagger, that toughness, that work ethic, that drive that's contagious and makes others better. I think Antoine Winfield has all those intangibles, and I think that's what I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers saw just that too, and making him the highest paid defensive back in NFL history. So yeah, 4-year, $84.1 million contract. Yeah, Winfield's a stud. This is a guy who, you got to remember, he was like a second round. I think he might have been a late first, early. He might have been. I think he was an early second round pick, but I could look that up for certain. But the thing with Antoine Winfield Jr. is, this guy he's been a really good player, and it clicked right away for him. Good career at Minnesota. Just a guy who's just been a really good pick. Just a really good pick for the Tampa Bay. Key part in them winning the Super Bowl in 2020. He's been healthy. He's played well. So, yeah, Antoine Winfield, excellent football player. Yeah, second round pick in 2020. And he's kind of been a guy that's been doubted a little bit. Son of an NFL player. He's been viewed highly, but doubted a little bit. You look at him, goes to not the highest recruited guy out of high school. I forget exactly what he was, but goes to Minnesota. Still a little under the radar there, even though he had an excellent career in Minnesota, and then goes to the NFL. And even though he was a key part in them winning that Super Bowl, still not really talked about a whole lot. In 2020, a lot of people were talking about, Tom Brady, Mike Evans, Rob Gronkowski, the usual suspects getting the credit. But quietly, Antoine Winfield was a key part to that Super Bowl run, and it was played his role perfectly, had a lot of success, made some tackles, made interceptions, just did everything he needed to do from the safety position. So, yeah, Antoine Winfield, a really good player and deserving of this money. So 4-year, $84.1 million contract. So, yeah, I kind of want to look at some of these articles. Pro Football Focus made an article ranking the top running backs. Sometimes I just like to type in Google NFL news, stuff that's going on. Yeah, this is an interesting article. Patrick Queen turned down money for a chance to win right now with the Steelers. Patrick Queen's had an interesting career. He never really developed into the linebacker we thought, even though he's been pretty good. I think looking at the NFL, the NFL has a lot of high expectations for linebackers right now. It's hard to find an elite one. Like outside of, you could argue Fred Warner's the only elite linebacker in the NFL, even though there's a lot of good ones. Demario Davis. There's Dre Greenlaw, Patrick Queen, Roquan Smith. There's good linebackers, but you could argue that Fred Warner is the only elite one in the NFL. So this is ranking every running back room in the NFL by tiers. So, yeah, Tier 1 has the San Francisco 49ers, the Baltimore Ravens, Philadelphia Eagles, and Green Bay Packers. Yeah, 49ers. I mean, Christian McCaffrey is a stud to anchor that running back room. I mean, McCaffrey just, ever since he got to San Francisco, the guy's just been on a complete tear. He's been dominant, scoring touchdowns, had that touchdown streak. So, yeah, I mean, Christian McCaffrey, still got Elijah Mitchell, Christian McCaffrey, just a very, very dynamic duo at running back. Baltimore Ravens, too, on this list. Yeah, Baltimore Ravens, a lot of that's due in part to them signing or them getting Derrick Henry at running back. But yeah, I mean, on paper, Baltimore's roster looks really strong. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers had a nice rookie year. Still got Mark Andrews, strong O-line, dynamic quarterback who can run and throw. So yeah, strong roster for the Ravens. And yeah, Derrick Henry, Justice Hill, that's their running back depth chart. Eagles depth chart, or Eagles running back room is in the tier 1. Yeah, Saquon Barkley. Yeah, Eagles have Barkley, Kenneth Gainwell, Will Shipley. And the Packers, then some of the notable teams in Tier 2, the Detroit Lions, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. You got the Miami Dolphins, too. That rookie from Texas A&M really made an impact. You got the Pittsburgh Steelers, too, led by Najee Harris. New Orleans Saints, Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah, ETN's been good. So, yeah, these are some of the Tier 2 running back depth charts. Tier 3, New York Jets, Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs, Atlanta Falcons, Tampa Bay Bucks, Los Angeles Rams, Seattle Seahawks. So here's just a ranking of the top 32 running backs. So Christian McCaffrey won. Yeah, it's really hard to argue that Christian McCaffrey isn't the best running back in the NFL. I mean, McCaffrey just like I was saying, since he got to San Francisco, the guy's been on a tear. Derrick Henry, the second best running back. Yeah, Derrick Henry's a beast, man, and Derrick Henry's been steady Eddie. He's just been consistent, big time seasons for a long time. And, quietly, Derrick Henry is getting older, but, yeah, I mean, you look back, just Derrick Henry, just a really good career. And, you could argue that, Derrick Henry has never really had, necessarily an elite season, but he's been a really good running back. Jonathan Taylor, 3. Hopefully Jonathan Taylor stays healthy. When Jonathan Taylor's healthy, you could argue he is the best. Like, you talk about just a sheer athlete, when you talk about all things into consideration, like athletic ability, movement skills, cutting ability, and just when he's healthy, you could argue, I guess, with all things considered, that Jonathan Taylor is the best running back in the NFL. Yeah, we just need to see him healthy. Nick Chubb too. Nick Chubb just got to stay healthy too. Bijan, number 5. Yeah, I think this is good analysis, like what they're talking about here with Bijan Robinson. You look at with Bijan, he didn't really necessarily have an eye-popping season, but like they said, he showed a lot of ability. He showed a lot of ability this year. I mean, just shy of 1,000 yards. Yeah, 4.5 yards per carry, which is good by NFL standards. Saquon Barkley, number 6. Yeah, Saquon, Jonathan Taylor, same kind of thing. I mean, when they're healthy, all systems go, all things roll. You can argue they're the number 1 back in football. Breece Hall, number 7. I like Breece Hall. Yeah, the ACL injury, that sucked. I mean, Breece Hall, a good player. Breece Hall is just... He's an underrated player. I think Breece Hall is one of those guys. I think playing at Iowa State really hurt him because like that running back class was being devalued a little bit a couple years ago when he came out, but Breece Hall was a fantastic player. And like when he's been on the field, besides the ACL, he's been healthy. That's what's really interesting. Like I think like it's kind of ironic that McCaffrey's number one because we were kind of having this like with running backs it's kind of like the same like with the top 1 through 6 guys, we'll see, you know, with the top ranking running backs is kind of hard, especially like the top 1 through 5 guys, because a lot of it's kind of indicative on if they're healthy. Because like why I say it's ironic that Christian McCaffrey's number one is because a couple years ago we were having the same conversation with Christian McCaffrey. It's like a lot of people were ranking him like, you know, the 3rd, 4th, 5th running back in football just because he simply hasn't played enough football in the last few seasons. He hasn't been healthy. He hasn't been on the field enough. But yeah, now that Christian McCaffrey, it's been 2 seasons and he's been on the field, not missing games, a lot of people really can put to rest those arguments that Christian McCaffrey's not the number one running back, and now that he's been healthy, people can say definitively he's the number one running back. Aaron Jones, number 8. Yeah, new team for Aaron Jones. But yeah, Aaron Jones, I mean, you talk about a rock-solid career in Green Bay. He was certainly that. He was rock solid in Green Bay. Big games, runs hard, can break tackles. Nice career at Utah. Yeah, kind of like Breece Hall. I mean, UTEP's not as well known of a school even as Iowa State, but I think that's why Aaron Jones not as much hype to start his NFL career, and I think that's kind of really carried onward. Like not a lot of hype to start his NFL career for Aaron Jones being from Utah, but you look at Aaron Jones, just a rock solid career, 4.6 yards per carry this past year, and yeah. This is, exactly. Pro Football Focus says exactly what I'm kind of hinting at. That, Jones has been one of the most underrated running backs in the NFL for some time now. But it's just kind of like, you think about like the name value is so big. It's why like, it's still why we talk about Jadeveon Clowney. Sometimes the hype can carry over. Like Jadeveon Clowney has been a name people have known since he was in high school because he's the number one recruit. Like Aaron Jones just isn't a name people knew for a long time. Like if Aaron Jones was a 5-star out of high school, he'd probably be talked about in higher regard as a running back. Just be like, I guess another way to put this is like it's like I don't know. It's like just Aaron Jones playing in a smaller school. Like some guys just stay underrated. A lot of it is just because like people didn't watch Aaron Jones in college, and like ranking Aaron Jones as the number 8 running back is probably where he belongs. But you could make an argument he should be higher. But I think why he comes in at number 8 is because you could make an argument he should be arguably top 5. But I don't think you can say he's number 1. So if he doesn't have a case to be the number 1, 2, or 3 running back, then you probably shouldn't have him in the top 5. So I think where he ranked is a safe spot, if you will. But yeah, Aaron Jones, bottom line, solid career, very solid running back, and now with the Minnesota Vikings. Number 9, Jahmyr Gibbs. Listen, I didn't expect them to have Jahmyr Gibbs this highly, but you look at Jahmyr Gibbs, I mean, blazing speed, so fast, so explosive, just has a lot of ability. Good receiver, too. Just had a fantastic season this past year for the Lions. You could argue he was better than Bijan Robinson. And, yeah, you got Bijan Robinson, number 5. I think having Bijan number 5 here is a little bit of a projection because Jahmyr Gibbs definitely had a better season than Bijan. But I think Pro Football Focus is projecting that this is kind of a projection forward, for the because they say ahead of the 2024 season, I think they're projecting that Bijan will have a better season in 2024 than Jahmyr Gibbs. But if you compare them, the two, because they were both the 2 rookies, considered the top 2 running backs. You compare them both. Like Jahmyr Gibbs had a better season than Bijan Robinson, and you could argue that his game translated better to the NFL than Bijan. But this is saying that this really is making it seem like Bijan's ahead of him. Josh Jacobs, number 10. Travis Etienne, number 11. Kenneth Walker, number 12. Raheem Mostert, number 13. Tony Pollard, number 14. Isaiah Pacheco, 15. Kyron Williams, 16. James Conner, 17. Devon Achane, 18. Jalen Warren, 19. DeAndre Swift, 20. Alvin Kamara, 21. You could argue that Kamara should be higher on this list, but just not as good season this past year. To me, I think ranking the running backs 10 through 20 is really tough here. 10 through 20, because you could have a lot of these guys in different orders. Like, you could argue, like, a lot of it, like, it's interesting they have Mostert and Achane 11 through 20. That just shows that they view both of those guys in high regard. Like, they had the Miami Dolphins. Like, that was CBS that did the article, but they had the Miami Dolphins up there as one of the best running back core. So that's just saying that they view both of them highly. Just they kind of take yards away from each other, just both being there. But they are a good tandem. Najee Harris, 22. I love Najee Harris. I think his work ethic's outstanding. Najee Harris, guy that just can carry the load. David Montgomery, 23. James Cook, 24. You could argue Montgomery's higher than 20. David Montgomery, it's interesting. Before the Detroit Lions got David Montgomery, they asked Aiden Hutchinson who the most underrated player in the NFL was, and he said David Montgomery. That was before the Lions had a few months before the Lions had acquired him. David Montgomery, there's a lot of guys you can talk that could get the underrated label. Like Aaron Jones could get the underrated label, but I really think David Montgomery's an underrated player in the NFL. Ramondre Stevenson, Rashad White, Joe Mixon. Yeah, I'm not as high. I've never been as high on Joe Mixon. I think he's got some ability. I think he's certainly not a bad running back, but I think a lot of people were penciling him in as a top 10 running back. Some years ago, people thought he was a top 5 running back. Look, Joe Mixon's not a top 5, top 10 running back, but he's a solid running back to say the least, and I like his ability. Austin Eckler, 29. Chuba Hubbard, 28. You could argue that Eckler should be higher. This must just be projecting that he's maybe not going to thrive in the Washington offense. Devin Singletary, 30. Gus Edwards, 31. And then Zamir White, 32. Yeah, Zamir White, he's got an opportunity to really shine this year. The guy that's probably going to get the bulk of the touches in Las Vegas just got to see if he makes the most of it. But yeah, Zamir White, a powerful runner. I don't think he's a guy that's going to light up the stat sheet year in and year out, but yeah, I think Zamir White, if he has multitude of games where he gets a heavy workload, I think he can get into a rhythm, and I think the Raiders have a good enough offensive line where he can really help him overall. So yeah, I like Zamir White. We'll see what happens for him this year. I kind of like these player rankings. Kind of looking these over, see if Pro Football Focus has any more of these. Bounce back candidates for all 32 teams. I don't know if this is referring to players or if this. So the Arizona Cardinals has Zay Jones, a bounce back player. Yeah, I mean Zay Jones has been okay. I think, the word okay, I think is perfect adjective to describe Zay Jones. He's just been okay. Atlanta Falcons, A.J. Terrell. Yeah, I mean A.J. Terrell, when he's healthy, one of the top corners in the NFL. Freak athlete. Yeah, when he's on the field, he's fantastic. So yeah, Baltimore Ravens, Mark Andrews, Buffalo Bills, Daquan Jones. Yeah, a lot of these are guys that, yeah, when they're on the field, they're making plays. They're a difference maker. Except Shaq Thompson, Carolina Panthers, Shaq Thompson. Shaq Thompson to me, Shaq Thompson's interesting because, to me, he's a guy who, the NFL, they say attachment's the root of all suffering. This is going to sound like I'm bashing Shaq Thompson, but to me, the NFL, I think the Carolina Panthers and Shaq Thompson is a little too much attachment. Sometimes, they say good's the enemy of great. Shaq Thompson's been good, but sometimes you can't. Sometimes holding on to good players can hurt you. Are the Carolina Panthers, Like, they continue to roll with Shaq Thompson. I don't even know what the contract is, but Shaq Thompson's still playing for him, now 30 years old. You know, like I said, good is the enemy of great. Is keeping Shaq Thompson on this team really making him that much better? So, to me, sometimes holding on to a guy is not the best thing. But yeah, I mean, Shaq Thompson, not bad by any stretch of the imagination, but sometimes if you have, like, sometimes keeping solid, good players can really handicap you in the NFL, just because, you know, the NFL, you're always, it's why in the NFL draft you see, you know, teams taking risks, guys with injuries, and teams more so being aggressive to trade up now, just because the NFL is so close now. You're looking, you got to strike gold. You got to find elite players. So sometimes having a guy that's just solid or good and extending him and keeping on the team can handicap you from really taking that next step to becoming a playoff or a Super Bowl contending team. Cincinnati Bengals, T. Higgins. Cleveland Browns, Jack Conklin. Dallas Cowboys, Brandon Cooks. Denver Broncos, Patrick Surtain. Yeah, Broncos really need Surtain to play better, or really need Surtain to play well. Talk about the Denver Broncos drafting Rose. Patrick Surtain, one of the guys they've hit on. Detroit Lions, or they have Marcus Davenport. Yeah, Marcus Davenport. I tell you what, if the Lions have a big-time season this year, like if they do something special, Marcus Davenport, it would most likely mean Marcus Davenport has a big-time year. This guy, I think Lions fans need to put aside, I think a lot of people forget this, but I think Lions fans need to put aside that this guy was a first-round pick and just understand that, like, can you give us 8.5, 9 sacks? I think that's been his ceiling really in the NFL is an 8.5, 9 sack guy. I think, to be exact, it was 9 sacks his highest career. If he can get the Lions 9 sacks next year, I think that's big. You know, I don't think, like, if you're Detroit, I think if you're asking this guy to come in and get 12, 13, 14, 15 sacks, I think that's asking a lot from him. But can this guy just, can he have having a good pressure rate, giving him 9, maybe 9.5, 10 sacks? Like, I think that would be really big time for Marcus Davenport. So yeah, but he's one of those guys that, you know, had some injuries, but you can't take away, and he's not a dominant edge rusher, but you really can't take away from when he's healthy. He does have some pass rushing ability, hence why he was a former first round pick. Jair Alexander, yeah, Jair Alexander. To me, you know, he's probably the best corner in the NFL when healthy. You know, that's obviously the kind of the theme that I keep going with, you know, when healthy. But really, you look at Jair Alexander, this guy just he moves different. It's the reason why, even though at Louisville, I think he played 10 career games at Louisville. And I give Mel Kiper credit, because Mel Kiper was really big on Jair Alexander, really emphasized the talent this guy had despite missing a lot of games. Like, it was apparent in big-time games. I think he picked off, you look at that 2016 game versus Clemson when he was at Louisville, he intercepted Watson 3 times. So, Alexander, injuries in the NFL, a lot of injuries in college, but you look at, I mean, the bottom line, when this guy's on the field, he's a true difference maker. Intercepted Brady multiple times in that 2020 playoff game. So, yeah. Guy can make plays. Guy moves different. Incredible burst. Incredible talent. Fantastic athlete. And the Packers fans certainly know the ability this guy has when he's on the field. Yeah, I mean, 560 snaps is the fewest he played in his career. But yeah, and then they have Mixon as a bounce back candidate. Yeah, Mixon is almost 28 and approaching the point of no return in the running back production. Yeah, I mean, you feel like it's kind of a do or die time for Joe Mixon. And yeah, Houston, it's another kind of case here where you could say, like, yeah, if Houston does something special, like if this offense turns up to an elite level, I mean, you got, yeah, like they're talking about here, Stroud, Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, some of the weapons they have. You combine that with a big-time season from Joe Mixon, that could be the formula for the Houston Texans to be a scary team that puts up a lot of points and maybe makes a deep run in the playoffs. Yeah, Colts, Jonathan Taylor. Taylor was one of the best NFL running backs in the first 2 years, but injuries halted his production. Yeah, in 2020, he dealt with the effects of the ankle surgery. Yeah, I mean, Jonathan Taylor, you kind of, you don't always want to make analysis based on feeling, but sometimes you get a feel with a guy like it's just, like everyone understands this is an important year for Jonathan Taylor, and sometimes you just like you kind of get a sense like he's just going to will himself to stay healthy, and it's going to be a big time year. And yeah, it talks about here the Colts bring in Zach Moss too. Jaguars has Christian Kirk as a bounce back candidate. Yeah, Jacksonville paid Christian Kirk a lot of money a couple years ago. Kansas City Chiefs, Travis Kelce. Yeah, this is just kind of banking. You're talking about, Travis Kelce didn't have as good of a regular season last year, even though Kelce is still dominant. Yeah, here's another interesting one. Las Vegas Raiders, Nate Hobbs. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like Nate Hobbs a couple years ago, a really big time season. Yeah, this past year, I guess I didn't follow him too closely, but not as big time year. Los Angeles Chargers, J.K. Dobbins, L.A. Rams, Tre'Davious White. Yeah, Tre'Davious White, if he plays well for the Los Angeles Rams, that could be big. As you see, they drafted a couple young guys that are really talented in Jared Verse and Braden Fisk. Miami Dolphins, Jordan Brooks. Yeah, Jordan Brooks, good linebacker. Like I talked about, there's not really, outside of Warner, there's really no elite linebackers, but you talk about a guy that should get the label of good linebacker, that's Jordan Brooks. And the Miami Dolphins really would love to have a big-time season for Jordan Brooks, kind of like the season he had a few years ago in Seattle when he was consistently a good player. What should we do? Top three. We'll do the top three players in every NFL team. So yeah, this is another one by Pro Football Focus. Yeah, this is kind of interesting. The Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray, Budda Baker, Marvin Harrison. It's funny they're going to put Marvin Harrison as already a top three player. See, that just shows the importance of making. That just shows, because I was arguing for the Patriots to take Marvin Harrison. That just shows the importance of having a top three pick in the NFL. Like immediately, you get a top three pick, you immediately have a guy that's already a top three player, hasn't even played a snap. At least, obviously, this is a projection at this point, but you see the importance. It really backs an example to back up the importance of having a top three, top five pick. Kyler Murray, Budda Baker, Marvin Harrison. I think it's kind of funny they had Steve, I think his name's Steve Kimes, the former GM of the Cardinals, on the Dan Patrick show. He was talking to Dan Patrick, and he was still saying that he doesn't regret not taking Nick Bosa over Kyler Murray. I'm thinking, like, sometimes people just got to admit when they're wrong. Look, is Kyler Murray, like, all things considered, has Kyler Murray been good? Like, with everything considered? Sure. But, like, I think sometimes it's important to admit you're wrong. Nick Bosa is a better pick than Kyler Murray. The Arizona Cardinals should have taken Nick Bosa over Kyler Murray, and they didn't. But the point I'm trying to make is sometimes you just got to admit when you're wrong. I think, Kimes, he can keep his ego, but here's the thing. He's keeping his ego at home now without a job. So that's the thing. Sometimes you got to admit when you're wrong. Look, Kyler Murray's been good. His argument was, Bosa still couldn't catch him or something, like some joke. But it's just like, dude, sometimes admitting you're wrong is important as a man. But yeah, the Arizona Cardinals, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, the Arizona Cardinals, I think Steve Kimes should have just admitted he was wrong. Like, Kyler Murray's Kyler Murray has been good, but Nick Bosa's been elite. Like, you argue Nick Bosa's the best edge rusher in the NFL. So yeah, Kimes should have just admitted he was wrong. But I don't know. I wish we could really hook him up to Robert De Niro's lie detector test and hear him and get an honest read. I think if you're honest, maybe maybe he's lying, or maybe he's being honest, but I think there's a high chance he's lying. So I don't know. I guess that's not really here nor there, but just something I wanted to talk about. So yeah, Budda Baker, good safety. So yeah, for the Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray, Budda Baker, Marvin Harrison as their top 3 players according to Pro Football Focus heading into 2024. Atlanta Falcons, Chris Lindstrom, Jesse Bates, Kirk Cousins. This is kind of interesting that they don't have A.J. Terrell. Lindstrom's been a good center. Jesse Bates is a good safety. Kirk Cousins is a good player. I think, Atlanta. I'm surprised that they. Let's see if they didn't even have. Also consider Calais Campbell, A.J. Terrell. Here's their depth chart. But I don't know how you don't have A.J. Terrell there, but Lindstrom, Bates, Cousins, good players. Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson, Roquan Smith, Kyle Hamilton. See who else they considered: Matabuke, Mark Andrews. I think that's you look at this like. I think that's the issue with the Baltimore Ravens. Said to make sure the camera was running. I think that's the issue with the Baltimore. Like, you look at why the Baltimore Ravens are not a Super Bowl contender. I think it's very indicative of this list because you look at like Lamar Jackson is a good quarterback. You could argue some would argue he is an elite quarterback. I would argue he's a really good to really good quarterback. Maybe not elite. But I don't where I would rank him. I have no idea. But like Roquan Smith, Kyle Hamilton are good players. But like to me, if you want to say you're a Super Bowl contender, how can you say you're a Super Bowl contender when you have Roquan Smith and Kyle Hamilton, 2 of your top 3 guys? And I'm not trying to like beat up on those guys because Hamilton and Smith are good players. But like, how can you? I don't know. Yeah. To me, I don't know why Ronnie Stanley wasn't even considered in this, but the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, Matt Milano, Gregory Rousseau. I didn't know Rousseau's been that good, if I'm being completely honest. Rousseau, 5 sacks last year. Earned a high grade, 87. Rousseau he's been one of those guys that's been weird. He's been overhyped for even out of college. Like, he was a first round pick, and he did have the production that one year at Miami, but it was just a lot of sacks where the quarterback was holding on to the ball too long. Rousseau is one of those guys where, for some reason, I don't know, I think it's because he looks the part. He's built well, long, lengthy, but he just has never really been that dominant. Outside of, even the year what he had like 16, 17 sacks at Miami, it might have been more, but he just was not. It wasn't like he was just like unblockable. A lot of it was quarterback held on to the ball too long. But yeah, not to beat up on Rousseau, I think he's a solid player, but is he? I don't think he's. Why? Ed Oliver not into consideration here. The Carolina Panthers, Derek Brown, J.C. Horn, Jadeveon Clowney. Yeah, what's interesting about the Carolina Panthers, I don't think it's at best an average roster, but at least they can hang their hat on with a few, like Derek Brown and J.C. Horn are at least good football players. Like, at least Carolina can say that they have a few good football players. They got Jadeveon Clowney too. Chicago Bears, Jalen Johnson, DJ Moore, Montez Sweat. Yeah, one of you guys commented and disagreed because I said Jalen Johnson's been okay. And, yeah, I'm going to have to retract. Yeah, you're right. Jalen Johnson's been good, but I think you got to be – Jalen Johnson's one of those guys you got to be careful because I'd say he's good, but I think the the line stops there. Like I don't say to say he's been a great to elite corner, like a very good elite corner, I think is a little too much of a stretch. But yeah, to say he's been, I gotta kind of have. I'll admit I was wrong to just say he was okay. He's a good corner. But yeah, I think the line stops at good. I don't think he's an elite player by any means. But yeah, we'll see with the Chicago Bears. Maybe Caleb Williams becomes a top 3. Maybe Caleb Williams becomes one of their top 3 players. Maybe Rome Odunze. So yeah. But yeah, DJ Moore, Jalen Johnson, Montez Sweat. That's 3 pretty good players. The Bengals, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Trey Hendrickson. Yeah, this list really just shows how important 2 impact players can be in regards to a team's success. Like the Cincinnati Bengals really rode a lot of momentum from Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase to the Super Bowl. Like you look at the rest of that roster, wasn't great. And it's kind of funny they had Trey Hendrickson is the number 3 guy here because Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase really garnered all the attention. But you look at the defense, Trey Hendrickson made a lot of big-time plays and big-time moments. So, yeah, these 3 players really key part into that 2021 run to the Super Bowl and certainly most deserving as their top 3 players, at least in Pro Football Focus's opinion and in my opinion as well. And, yeah, they considered T. Higgins and Jordan Battle as well. Cleveland Browns, Zadarius Smith, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, and Myles Garrett. I don't know how they don't have Denzel Ward here, but yeah, Zadarius Smith been a good player. Owusu-Koramoah, a good player. Myles Garrett, absolute beast, arguably the best edge rusher in the NFL. Yeah, insanely productive. Yeah, that's what Pro Football Focus is talking about here. Myles Garrett, insanely productive for his entire NFL career, and yet somehow took things to new heights in 2023. This is Pro Football Focus saying this. On his way to Defensive Player of the Year honors, Garrett recorded. Yeah, I mean, Myles Garrett is just an absolute beast. I mean, the dude just, like, Myles Garrett just gets off the line of scrimmage like no other. Like, that's one of the key traits to look for in a defensive lineman, the way he gets off the snap. Myles Garrett just does that at an elite level. I mean, it just looks so easy for him. So, yeah, I mean, Myles Garrett, guy that huge, shredded, looks the part, plays the part, been such a dominant player, just certainly been worthy of the first overall pick a few years back. Dallas Cowboys, yeah, kind of pretty much the chalk here. Micah Parsons, CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, the 3 most talked about players in the Dallas Cowboys, and these guys come in as their top players. And then, yeah, they considered Zach Martin, DeMarcus Lawrence. I think, yeah, that's why the Cowboys are good year in and year out because, yeah, these 3 guys are as good. These compare with any other top 3 guys that I've mentioned. So, yeah, Micah Parsons, CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott. And, yeah, they considered Zach Martin, DeMarcus Lawrence, 2 other really good players as well. The Broncos, Patrick Surtain, Quinn Mertz, Courtland Sutton. And the Lions, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Aiden Hutchinson, Penei Sewell. Yeah, you look at, the Lions are a perfect example of how the NFL draft's so important. You look at Amon-Ra St. Brown. All 3 of these guys were guys drafted in the last 3 draft classes. 2021, they took Penei Sewell 7th overall. In that same draft, they got St. Brown in the 4th round. And then the next year, 2022, you get Aiden Hutchinson with the 2nd overall pick. So these are examples of how important the NFL draft is and how you can turn around a team and how you can get difference makers through the NFL draft. So, yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Aiden Hutchinson, Penei Sewell, examples of the importance of NFL draft, like I said, and just examples of how you can get true difference makers and how you can turn around a team. And talk about investing, too, at premium positions. Edge rusher, a premium position, you get Aiden Hutchinson. Offensive tackle, a premium position, you get Penei Sewell. So, yeah, 3 guys. And the 3 guys probably talked about the most on the Detroit Lions. The next guy would be Jared Goff. But, yeah, St. Brown. When you think the Detroit Lions, you think St. Brown, you think Aiden Hutchinson, you think Penei Sewell. And so, yeah. And then, Jared Goff was the next guy considered, Frank Ragnow, and then Lee McNeil. Lee McNeil been one of the more, if you talk about one of the more underrated players in the Detroit Lions, it's Lee McNeil, because the defensive tackle market, a little bit hectic right now, but a guy like Lee McNeil is so important. The Green Bay Packers. Jair Alexander, Rashawn Gary, Jordan Love. This is banking on that he's healthy. Jair Alexander's got to stay healthy, but movement skills are off the charts. He's a stud corner. And then Rashawn Gary, a good football player, a guy that's developed into the player a lot of people thought. Former top recruit out of high school. Pretty good career at Michigan. Never really became a dominant edge rusher in Michigan, but has done just that in the NFL, becoming a dominant edge rusher, even though despite he was not a dominant edge rusher in Michigan. And then, Jordan Love's been a nice player, really doing a nice job becoming a good quarterback and taking over after losing Aaron Rodgers. So, Jair Alexander, Rashawn Gary, Jordan Love, top 3 players in the Green Bay Packers. Houston Texans, C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, Will Anderson. You talk about building it through the draft, kind of like the Detroit Lions, getting good players through the draft with high draft picks at premium positions. Will Anderson, through the draft, drafted him. Young guy, edge rusher, premium position. C.J. Stroud, quarterback, premium position through the draft. And then Nico Collins. Nico Collins is going back a little bit further. You got to go back to the 2021 NFL draft when you took him. Still in the last 3 years. So, C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, Will Anderson Jr. is what Pro Football Focus has. They considered Laramie Tunchel and Derek Stingley Jr. Stingley had a nice year, looking more like the top 3 pick. Still a young player. And then Laramie Tunsil been a really good tackle for him. The Indianapolis Colts, Michael Pittman Jr., DeForest Buckner, Quentin Nelson. I think, that's why if you're the Indianapolis Colts, you should be confident you can turn this thing around. I mean, you look at Michael Pittman Jr., DeForest Buckner, Quentin Nelson. Those are 3 really good football players that they have on their team. Laiatu Latu was a nice draft pick, too. So, Buckner on the inside, Laiatu Latu rushing the passer. You got Pittman Jr. at receiver, and then Quentin Nelson, one of the best offensive linemen in football. So, Indianapolis Colts certainly have pieces to be a really good football team. We'll just see if they put it all together and win enough football games to get in the playoffs and make some noise. Still got Bernard Raymond, Kenny Moore at corner, Jonathan Taylor too. So those are some of the 3 guys into consideration. Jacksonville Jaguars, Josh Allen, Travis Etienne, Trevor Lawrence. Etienne really having a nice career. Trevor Lawrence, been good. Josh Allen developed into a nice edge rusher. He was the guy they had high hopes for, and he's been better. So, Josh Allen, the edge rusher, Travis Etienne, Trevor Lawrence. And then, they considered Oluokun, the linebacker. Tyson Campbell has been a nice corner. And then also Eric Armstead. Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones. The Kansas City Chiefs. I think why the Kansas City Chiefs have won back-to-back Super Bowls is that's the best 3 players. Kansas City Chiefs win this award for the best top 3 players collectively. So, that's as good a tandem as anyone. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones. If you notice, premium position. 2 guys, premium positions, especially Patrick Mahomes, quarterback, Chris Jones. Even though Chris Jones is not necessarily, they don't always play him as a true edge rusher, he does have the ability to rush the passer. And then, Travis Kelce, tight end, you could argue, not necessarily a premium position, but having an elite one, an all-time great one like Travis Kelce is just such a huge asset. So, Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, 3 outstanding players. They considered the big 3 has been the cornerstone to back-to-back Super Bowls. So, they also considered Trent McDuffie, Creed Humphrey as well. Las Vegas Raiders, Devontae Adams, Colton Miller, Max Crosby. The Las Vegas Raiders, I guess, if you want to take a team to argue against this not being that important in winning games, that's as good a tandem as most right there. Devontae Adams, Colton Miller, and Max Crosby. But you look at the rest of this goes to show, this is kind of the argument against this not being that important, because you look at outside of those guys, the rest of the Raiders roster is not that great. But those three guys, three really good football players: Davante Adams, Colton Miller, and Max Crosby. Now, Adams has to be a little bit more consistent, but Colton Miller, Max Crosby, both really good football players. Colton Miller, an underrated player, arguably a top 5 offensive tackle in the National Football League. Los Angeles Chargers, Justin Herbert, Rashawn Slater, and Khalil Mack. They had Derwin James, Joey Bosa, and Asante Samuel Jr. Yeah, the LA Chargers have to be in consideration for one of the teams to go from worst to first. Because, that's a really nice that's a really nice stack right there. Herbert, Slater, Khalil Mack, and then even the notables, Derwin James, Joey Bosa, Asante Samuel Jr. Yeah, the Los Angeles Chargers have a ton of talent. Their offensive line should be really improved. Khalil Mack getting a little older, but still can get out, rush the passer. And then Justin Herbert, a young quarterback with just all the ability in the world. So, yeah, the Los Angeles Chargers, really nice talent at the top in these top 3 guys. And, yeah, they have a chance to be really, really good. LA Rams, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, and Matthew Stafford. Yeah, I mean, the Rams done a really good job of staying strong at the skill position. So, yeah. But those 3 guys, really good football players: Stafford, Kupp, and Nacua. Miami Dolphins, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Tua Tagovailoa. Yeah, I mean, Miami Dolphins, name of the game on this roster: speed. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, certainly both speedsters. And then, yeah, Tua's been good too. So, yeah, the Miami Dolphins, speed all over the field, and Tyreek Hill, Waddle, the guys on this list. Minnesota Vikings, Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, Christian Darrisaw. Yeah, Darrisaw quietly been a really good offensive tackle for him. Hawkinson got some ability at the tight end position. And then, yeah, Justin Jefferson, most people would consider, if not Tyreek Hill, most people consider Justin Jefferson at least the second best receiver in the NFL, arguably the best. So, yeah, pretty good stack here. Jefferson, Hawkinson, and Darrisaw. They also did consider Brian O'Neill. The New England Patriots, Matthew Judon, Kyle Duggar, Jabril Peppers. Yeah, this is very indicative of why the Patriots are not very good offensively, because this right here argues, I think a lot of people would argue this as well, this argues that the best 3 players on New England are all defensive players: Matt Judon, Kyle Duggar, and Jabril Peppers. So usually when your 3 best players are defensive players, it's probably not a good sign for your offense, and which was very poor last year. So, and then New Orleans Saints, Chris Olave, Demario Davis, and Tyrann Mathieu. Yeah, Demario Davis, probably the second best linebacker in the NFL. I guess you could make a case he's the best, but I really have to go with Fred Warner. And this is interesting. I want to get to the 49ers. If I had to guess, I'm taking a guess, but I talk about it's got to be Fred Warner and Nick Bosa. Those have to be 2 of their top difference makers. So, yeah, the Saints, Chris Olave, Demario Davis, Tyrann Mathieu. Mathieu getting a little older, but still a good player. Ramczyk, Carl Granderson were in the mix as well. New York Giants, Dexter Lawrence, Andrew Thomas, Brian Burns. They also considered Kayvon Thibodeau and Malik Neighbors. Yeah, Malik Neighbors has a chance to really stake his claim as one of the top 3 players on this team. New York Jets, Quinnen Williams, Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson. Talk about, once again, building it through the draft. 2 of these guys drafted in the last couple of years: Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson. And then, yeah, Aaron Rodgers, Breece Hall. Aaron Rodgers, if he's healthy, will be one of the top 3. Yeah, the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, Jalen Carter, A.J. Brown. I think that, this list really shows that, like, list just really shows, like, that the Eagles, like, the potential of the Eagles. Like, Jalen Carter, like, if he continues, like, if he looks like the Jalen Carter we saw at Georgia, like, there was flashes of it this year. You just want to see him play more snaps, more starts. If he plays like that guy, then he's certainly a top 3 player. And then A.J. Brown, a guy who, A.J. Brown, that's a safe one. Yeah, I guess Brown and Hurts are safe, but Jalen Carter, if he plays like the guy we think he can, the guy we saw at Georgia, he's certainly a top 3 player on this Eagles team. Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, Pittsburgh Steelers, T.J. Watt, Cameron Hayward, Mika Fitzpatrick, all 3 good players. 49ers, Trent Williams, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa. Like, I've hammered this point home, but having Fred Warner, Nick Bosa is so critical to the 49ers team overall. And you look at the 49ers, like, I would argue the 49ers is it's not necessarily elite roster overall, but these 3 players really are the focal point, the main reason why the 49ers are so good. Yeah, this is what Pro Football Focus are. 6 or 7 players on this roster could easily form a top 3. Oh, yeah, McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel. I don't know. I guess I take that back. Yeah, they do McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel. But, like, I thought that Pro Football Focus was hinting at this, but you think outside of, like, McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brock Purdy, Kittle, Williams, Warner, Bosa. I know that's a lot. You say, outside of all those players, that's a lot. But think about, like, outside of the guys I just mentioned, Trent Williams, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, like, who's even their next best guy then? Who would you even argue? Like, Ayuk? But then outside of that, like, you know what I mean? Like, so there is, that's the thing with the 49ers. It is kind of a top-heavy roster, if you will. Because, like, outside of McCaffrey, these 7 I mentioned, it is kind of, there's a bit of a drop-off. Seattle Seahawks, DK Metcalf, Geno Smith, Witherspoon. I think Byron Murphy, the rookie defensive tackle, has got a chance to work his way into this list. But, Metcalf, Geno Smith, good players. Witherspoon showed a lot of ability as a rookie. He's a good player. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tristan Wirfs, Antoine Winfield, Mike Evans. Tennessee Titans, Jeffrey Simmons, DeAndre Hopkins, L'Jarius Sneed. Washington, Terry McLaurin, Jonathan Allen, Frankie Lavu. So, So here's the top 32 receivers. Here's the top 32 receivers. Just go over this quickly. Just have a few more minutes left. They had Justin Jefferson number 1. Yeah, I honestly would put Justin Jefferson as the number 1 receiver in the NFL. Like, to me, that catch he had against the Lions in triple coverage, if that, I know that was one catch, but if that's not evidence to back up that he's the best receiver in the NFL, then I don't know what is. That catch was just absurdity. Obviously, once again, it's one catch, but that just shows the ability of Justin Jefferson. You talk about, this is a guy I think just hungry to keep getting better. He's a guy that's kind of doubted at a high school, just a 3-star guy. Kind of, I think he was a preferred walk-on at LSU. He had a couple brothers play there. But, this guy's just hungry to get. You talk about a combination of, size, speed, agility, ability to adjust to the ball, contested catch. You talk about all the intangibles that go into being a dominant wide receiver. They're all there for Justin Jefferson. And Justin Jefferson would be, as much as I love, because Tyreek Hill comes in at number 2, as much as I love Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson ability is just out of this world. Tyreek Hill, name of the game is speed, explosiveness, big plays after the catch. Big-time season. Just shy of 1,800 yards, 13 touchdowns. They got Jamar Chase at number 3. Yeah, some people thought Jamar Chase number 1 a few years ago. I would have been. I was one staking my claim that Jamar Chase is the number 1 wide receiver. Kind of taking a step back, but not a big step back by any stretch of the imagination. Jamar Chase still a really good receiver. CeeDee Lamb number 4. Yeah, CeeDee Lamb's a stud. Really nice season this year. A.J. Brown number 5. Devontae Adams 6. Amon-Ra St. Brown 7. You could argue St. Brown's number 5, number 4. You could argue St. Brown should be number 4. Brandon Ayuk number 8. Cooper Kupp number 9. Deebo Samuel 10. Stephon Diggs 11. DJ Moore 12. Puka Nacua 13. Garrett Wilson 14. Nico Collins 15. Devontae Smith 16. DeAndre Hopkins 17. Terry McLaurin 18. Amari Cooper 19. And then Mike Evans number 20. Yeah, this had Harrison number 21. But yeah, I think it's kind of hard to argue again that Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, and Justin Jefferson aren't in the top 3. Whatever order you want to put them in, I think it's really hard to debate that those guys. I mean, I guess there might be some people, like probably some diehard Eagles fans, to argue A.J. Brown should be a top 3 wide receiver. You could argue a couple years ago Devontae Adams was in the top 3 discussion. Maybe not now. I think the reason it's kind of like with Aaron Jones being number 8. I think that's kind of the same reasoning here, having St. Brown at number 7. I think St. Brown has an argument to be a top 4 or 5 wide receiver, but I don't think he has the argument to be in the number 1. So, and then I don't think Ayuk should be this high at number 8. I think Ayuk's got some ability. I think he's a nice player, but I don't think he should be the number 1. I don't think he should be the number 8 receiver. Cooper Kupp at number 9. Same kind of thing with Devontae Adams. You argue a couple years ago, especially in that Super Bowl run, you could argue then Cooper Kupp was a top 3, 4, 5 receiver. But yeah, number 9, probably a pretty safe spot for him. Deebo Samuel 10. Yeah, I mean Deebo Samuel, really good after the catch, nice player. Stephon Diggs 11. Yeah, Diggs now going to be with the Texans, but yes, nice seasons in Minnesota. Just got better every year. Nice seasons in Buffalo. DJ Moore, number 12. Puka Nacua, 13. Garrett Wilson. But yeah. Look at this quickly. Just got like another minute or so. So the top 25 players under 25. It's got Penei Sewell number 1. Yeah, why not? I mean, Sewell, yeah, still only 23 years old. That's crazy. You remember he came into the league at 20 years old. Yeah, Sewell's an animal. I argue Sewell's the best offensive tackle in football. I know Trent Williams is right there, but Sewell is just the dude's just a beast. I mean, you talk about just like I know some people didn't love that pick by the Lions. It wasn't a sexy pick, but talk about a foundational pick. Like Sewell's going to be a really good tackle. He's going to be an elite tackle for a long time. People talk about it's not the sexy pick, but whatever. I mean, bottom line, Sewell's a stud. Sauce Gardner number 2. Yeah, Sauce Gardner been really good. Trevor Lawrence 3. Jamar Chase 4. Kyle Hamilton 5. Hutchinson 6. Hutchinson, you could argue he should be higher. Hutchinson just not a lot of love. So I'm going to wrap with that, guys. Thanks for tuning in to the Brand Partial Show. Stay tuned for more episodes and clips from the show. Till next time, peace.